Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome to Forest City Community Church Online. If you're here for our At the Movie series, we would encourage you to make your way over to our website, fccc.ca. You can check it out there. But if you're here to continue in the Joseph series, you're in the right place. We have another week of Joseph coming at you. This is week 3. We're really excited about it. Thank you all for joining us. Enjoy the service.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to church today. Why don't you just join us and sing along?
So the other day I was heading home from work, and out of the blue, this guy just cuts me off. No warning. He didn't use a signal. He obviously didn't check his mirrors or his blind spot. He just cuts me off. And you know what? I'm a pretty easygoing person, but I got ticked. I got a little mad. I honked my horn at the guy, and I said, "Hey, watch it, you moron." I almost showed him my tall finger. I never did, but I almost did. But you know what? By the time I got home, I was over it, right? Why? Because it wasn't personal. This guy didn't go, "Oh, there's Cheryl. I hate her. I'm going to cut her off." Right? At least I hope he didn't. It wasn't personal. And you'll hear, I cut you off, and you'll chuckle, and you'll be like, yeah, that's like a paper cut. It's annoying, but it's not really a giant deal. But what about when you hear things like, "You abandoned me. You talked about me behind my back. You took advantage of me. You abused me. You cheated on me." Well, then our reactions are completely different. Those aren't mere paper cuts. Those are cuts of a different kind. Those are a giant deal. See, the thing about those phrases is that they are so personal. You did that to me on purpose. They're deeply personal. And when you're hurt by those closest to you, when you get unfairly treated by people you trust or love, you're not fine by the time you get home. You're not over it by supper. It can be something you struggle with for weeks or months or even a lifetime. It's not just an offense, it's a betrayal. Betrayal, that is a strong word. It has other strong words attached to it. Betrayal, the act of exposing someone through treachery or disloyalty. The act of disappointing a person's trust, hopes, or expectations. The act of revealing information in violation of confidence. Failure to keep or honor a promise. And the closer the relationship, the greater the betrayal. Now, my guess is that all of us can relate on some level. All of us have experienced betrayal, have been betrayed, or been the betrayer. It's a part of life in a broken world, and I know, it seems flippant of me to say, well, you know what? It's part of life in a broken world. You can't avoid it. But it is. It's a hard part of life, a part I wish we could avoid. Now, if you caught last week's talk that Nick gave, you would have been introduced to Joseph. Joseph was a guy who could totally relate to betrayal. He could absolutely say, "You abandoned me. You hated me." Joseph was the 11th son of his father, Jacob. That fact alone fascinates me. My dad is the second born of 8 sons. I have 4 sons. I know the stories my dad's told me. I know the stories I could tell. That fascinates, but I don't think that our stories would even compare to the story Joseph could tell. So let's check a bit of his story out right now. So to recap, Joseph's family were sheep farmers, goat farmers, agricultural men. Now, usually tending the sheep was a job for the youngest son. But in this case, the other sons were there except the youngest son, because we learned last week he was the favorite son, Joseph. And because all the other sons were there, this shows us that this family was very wealthy. They had lots and lots of sheep, thousands of them. Now, caring for sheep was a bit of a nomadic lifestyle. These sheep would be what we would call free-range sheep, definitely grass-fed. The brothers would travel miles around tending the sheep. So Joseph was sent to check up on them, make sure things were going okay, maybe bring them some cookies that their mom had made or something. So we're going to start from where Nick left off. Let's see what happens next. So Joseph is on the way to check up on his brothers and report back to dad, kind of like an informant, which, by the way, nobody likes a tattletale. All right, let's read. I'm reading Genesis 37, starting at verse 18. When Joseph's brothers saw him coming, they recognized him in the distance. As he approached, they made plans to kill him. Look, I know we just got started reading, but can we stop right there for a minute? Did you read what I just read? The big brothers saw their little brother, who at the time was 17 years old. They saw him walking toward them, and they recognized him. Maybe he had kind of a swagger because he was the favorite son. Maybe his coat of many colors was so bright and vibrant that they recognized it right away. They could tell it was him, and they called out and they waved, "Hey, little Joe, come on over. How's it going? How's things at home?" Maybe they gave him a noogie or something. No. It says they made plans to kill him. Talk about betrayal. Let's keep reading. "Here comes the dreamer," they said. "Come on, let's kill him. Let's throw him into one of these cisterns. We can tell our father a wild animal has eaten him. Then we'll see what becomes of his dreams." Kind of devious, but not a bad plan. I mean, no DNA back then, right? No way to trace where the blood came from. But just when it seems like they have their plan together, big brother Reuben steps in. He seems to be the one brother with a little bit of compassion. But when Reuben heard of their scheme, he came to Joseph's rescue. "Well, let's not kill him," he said. "Why should we shed any blood? Let's just throw him into this empty cistern here in the wilderness. Then he'll die without our laying a hand on him." So big brother Reuben steps in, and instead of killing Joseph, we'll toss him into a cistern. Then he'll just starve and die on his own out here in the wilderness. That way, we don't have to get our hands dirty. I'm not sure if that's a better plan. Now, maybe if you're like me, you might think, what the heck's a cistern? Is that maybe something Joseph could have climbed out of eventually, like escaped? Is it a convent of some sort? Well, here's a picture of a cistern. In ancient Israel, the summer months were extremely dry, and during this time, people would carve for themselves these cisterns, these man-made reservoirs that would contain large amount of rainfall. You'd lower a rope on a bucket and get the water. They were usually 2 to 3 feet wide and 15 to 20 feet deep. Water was so scarce in Jerusalem, so people would carve many cisterns, and it was pretty easy because the layer of the earth had this layer of limestone at the surface. Now, sometimes, though, a cistern would develop a crack and the water would seep out, causing it to go dry. That would be what the brothers would throw Joseph in, a dry cistern. So instead of killing him and throwing him in there, they were just going to skip the killing part and instead toss him in. Now, before you hate on Reuben, there's one more line of the verse we didn't read yet. It says, Reuben was secretly planning to rescue Joseph and return him to his father. All right, let's give a few points back to Reuben. He couldn't stand up to his brothers all the way, but at least he had some compassion and a bit of a plan. Let's see what happened. So when Joseph arrived, his brothers ripped off the beautiful robe he was wearing. They grabbed him and threw him into the cistern. Now the cistern was empty. There was no water in it. All right, I just want us to picture this. Sometimes we read through verses and we don't grasp them. It says when Joseph, who we know is only 17, arrived to see his brothers, his very flesh and blood, they ripped off his coat of many colors. They grabbed him. Remember, there were probably a lot of them, all older than him, all stronger than him. They were probably pretty rough, maybe kicking him, punching him, saying things like, "Hey, dreamer, dream your way out of this." And they threw him into the empty cistern that may have been 15 to 20 feet down onto rock into darkness. I don't think Joseph would have had a soft landing. He probably had some broken bones, maybe an arm or an ankle, some cuts, lots of bruises. But those things would heal. The shock of being betrayed by his own brothers, healing from that would take a lot longer. Now, what's written next makes me cringe a little. It says, then, just as they were sitting down to eat. Did you catch that little phrase? They just hurled their 17-year-old brother into a cistern to let him die, and then they had lunch. What do you think Joseph is doing down there all this time? Like, ha ha, funny joke, guys. Okay, let me up now, joke's over. Hey, guys, you guys having lunch? Is that lamb chops? I'm hungry too, you know. I just walked 15 miles here to find you guys. Hey, look, I'm sorry. I won't talk about my coat anymore. Guys, I'm sorry I told you my dreams. Hey, if you let me up, I won't even tell Dad what you did. This will be our little secret. Guys, Simeon, Levi, Judah, can you guys hear me? I think I broke my arm. My head's bleeding a little. Hey guys, please. And what did he hear in response? His brothers getting things ready for lunch, maybe building a fire to roast some juicy lamb chops. While he was in the pit, they were getting ready to eat, maybe laughing, maybe shut up, dreamer. Maybe completely ignoring his calls for help. That's cold. It says then, just as they were sitting down to eat, they looked up and saw a caravan of camels in the distance coming towards them. It was a group of Ishmaelite traders taking a load of gum, balm, and aromatic resin from Gilead down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain by killing our brother? We'd have to cover up the crime. Instead of hurting him, let's just sell him to those Ishmaelite traders." Okay, listen to this. This is rich. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood. So sweet of him, eh? So sweet, Judah. And his brothers agreed. Joseph's brothers pulled him up out of the cistern and sold him to the traders for 20 pieces of silver. And the traders took him to Egypt. Joseph is probably thinking, finally, they're going to pull me up. You know, they had their laugh. They lowered a rope. He grabbed on. They pulled him up. And instead of embracing him, instead of slapping him on the back and saying, "Oh, you know, you're a good sport, Joseph," they sold him to be a slave out of one pit into another. Betrayal with a capital B. Now, I'm guessing that your or my experience with betrayal may not have been quite as bad as Joseph's, but nonetheless, it was real. It happened and it hurt. Everyone has a wound, an emotional scar that takes much longer to heal than a physical one. Lately, we've been bombarded with news of the vaccine, which people are hoping will help us physically. But what do we do when there are mental and spiritual wounds, when there's betrayal? That requires a different antidote. When we're blindsided by a divorce, when we're upstaged by a coworker, when our family stabs us in the back, when we're lied about, financially ruined by a business partner, when we're rejected by a lifelong friend, when we're falsely accused, when we're abandoned, abused, demeaned, condemned by those closest to us. How do we find healing and peace? How do we come to terms with betrayal and take a step forward, even if it's a small one? Look, I am not an expert by any means, by any stretch of your imagination. I have experienced some forms of betrayal. I know how it made me feel. I know how it took a lot of work to get over it, and I know how it rears its ugly head and reminds me that I'm still a work in progress. And I know many of you have a betrayal story much worse than mine. You could be standing here teaching. But I thought maybe we could look together at some things we can do to help each other. Some things Jesus teaches. After all, he holds the ace when it comes to betrayal. Some or all of this is going to be counterintuitive. It might be the last thing we want to do, but that shouldn't surprise us, right? Jesus walked this earth teaching counterintuitive things. He said things like, love your enemies. Let them bring out the best in you, not the worst. When someone gives you a hard time, respond with the supple moves of prayer for that person. If someone slaps you in the face, stand there and take it. If someone grabs your shirt, gift wrap your best coat and make a present of it. If someone takes unfair advantage of you, use the occasion to practice the servant life. No more payback. Live generously. Wow. I mean, those are the type of verses that are real easy to read and real hard to do. Betrayal, what can we do? Well, one of the counterintuitive things to realize is you're still standing. So stop the blame game. I think blaming is the first thing we do. Since the Garden of Eden, we have tried to put the blame on someone else, right? Adam on Eve, Eve on the serpent on God. This knee-jerk reaction just seems to be a part of our DNA. I used to love the funnies in the newspaper when I was a little girl, and I never understood why my mom would laugh at one particular cartoon called The Family Circus. Then I had kids, and then I got it real quick. Here's an example of the blame game at its extreme, according to The Family Circus. He hits his little brother and he says, "But I didn't do it, Mr. Monkey did." Right? It's the blame game. We blame our parents, we blame our siblings, our boss, our church, our friends, our teachers, even our dog gets the blame. And I think sometimes as we get older, God is the easiest to blame. I've done that. I thought, really, God, this is how you're going to let this play out? When we take a look at Joseph in the deep, dark pit, it would have been super easy for him to blame God. Why did you let this happen to me? Why didn't you stop my brothers? Why didn't you have something soft in here for me to land on? Instead of taking a look at the causes of the breakdown that led to the betrayal in the first place. Joseph's brothers were jealous. They didn't like that he was the favorite, that he got a special coat, that he was as obsessed with his coat as Anne of Green Gables was with her puff sleeves, or Gollum with his precious ring. Then jealousy led to them holding a grudge. Holding a grudge led to them making a wrong choice. Then this choice was backed up with rationalization. And then eventually that led to a cover-up. It says, then the brothers killed a young goat and dipped Joseph's robe in its blood. They sent the beautiful robe to their father. Their father recognized it immediately. Yes, it is my son's robe. A wild animal must have eaten him. Joseph has clearly been torn to pieces. All these things, these previous things led to the betrayal. Not once did the brothers ask God what they should do. Not once did they consult him for help. They took things into their own hands on purpose. When we don't look into the cause of the breakdown that led to the betrayal and we just pass blame on others, we hold grudges. Then we act on grudges. We make choices that result in bitterness and hatred and refusing to ever trust again. Choices that can lead us to trying to solve our desperate hurt feelings on our own or with a filler, addictive substances, destructive choices, dead-end roads. When we blame God, then we stop going to church. We stop watching online. We stop reading our Bible. We don't bother praying. We turn away from him. If we were just discovering God and we get betrayed, we instantly throw him out the window, stop seeking him. Then we rationalize our choices. But if there was ever a time to turn and lean on God, if there's ever a time to invite Jesus in, it is during a betrayal. He understands. He promises unfailing love, unconditional grace, uncompromising faithfulness. There's a verse in the Bible that says, if your heart is broken, you'll find God right there. If you're kicked in the gut, he'll help you catch your breath. I think that's an apt description of betrayal, a kick in the gut. Sometimes doing the work of looking into the cause of the breakdown, that's too hard for us, so it's easier to blame ourselves, others, even God. But you're still standing. You still have a life to live. Aren't you tired of carrying this around, of chasing dead-end roads? Aren't you tired of playing the blame game? Isn't it getting old and heavy? Jesus says, come to me, all who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Further on in that verse, it says, you will find rest for your souls. Oh, doesn't that sound amazing? A betrayal goes deep like that, right down to our very soul. Jesus offers rest for our soul, and it can start with laying down the blame. But Cheryl, you say, what if this betrayal came out of nowhere? What if I did the work of searching for the cause and I can't find one? I can't find a rational reason or cause for this betrayal. Then I would say the next counterintuitive thing that we can do is wait for it. Be incredibly patient. Wait for God's intervention by being incredibly patient. I know. It's not what we want to hear. But when we are unjustly accused and unfairly betrayed, we must wait for God's deliverance and wisdom sometimes. Nelson Mandela was a social rights activist. He became deeply involved in the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa. For 20 years, he campaigned peacefully against his government's racist policies. But Mandela spent 27 years in prison. He waited for 27 years to be released, to be delivered. Eventually, he was. But 27 years? Well, that's a long time to wait for deliverance. That's a long lesson in developing patience. Sometimes we are required to wait. The deliverance may take time. And that concept is so difficult for us to grasp in our Amazon Prime world, isn't it? We aren't good at this. We've been dealing with a pandemic for over a year now. A year. And it seems like such a long time. But not if you talk to Nelson Mandela. He'd say, you got 26 years to go to catch up with me. There's a reason patience is a virtue, a very high order. So instead of focusing on the betrayal, let's take the time in this waiting to refocus on God. He's always at work in us, in those around us. And instead of impatiently stomping our feet, let's ask some questions. Where can I see your hand in this, your purpose in this, God? What can you show me about myself through this? How can I help others who have also gone through this? Really, Cheryl, not only do I have to wait on God, but now I have to do it with purpose? See, patience is not really the ability to wait. It's the ability to keep a good attitude while waiting. I know, I love and hate that quote. Our waiting is not in vain. God is always at work. He's working in me. He's working in you. He's working in those who've betrayed us. Joseph had so much to learn. His brothers had so much to learn. His father had so much to learn. Things they wouldn't have learned if Joseph never ended up in that pit of betrayal. Do you ever hear the saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger? The music team sang it. It's like a butterfly, right? If we see the caterpillar crawling first, then he forms a chrysalis. And if we patiently wait, it will emerge transformed. But can you imagine if a caterpillar said, I'm tired of waiting. I've been stuck in this thing now for weeks. I've gained 10 ounces in this chrysalis. Let me out of this thing. And then he bullies his way out too soon. What would happen? He wouldn't be ready. He'll never fly. It's similar for us. God will not delay, nor will he be rushed. While we are wearily waiting, he is working in ways we can't see or know. So our trust is based on God's own assurance that when the time is right, he won't make us wait any longer. Let's do the counterintuitive thing and wait for it. Wait for God's intervention while being incredibly patient. He wants to grow and change us into better people. One last counterintuitive thing we can look at together, and you knew this one was coming. I saved it for last because it's the hardest one. You were probably thinking it, and I'm going to say it out loud. The third counterintuitive thing that we can do while we are in the pit of betrayal is to release the hounds. Release those who have betrayed us. I know. This goes against every fiber of our being. We want revenge. We want fairness. We want apologies. We want justice. But the truth is, we may never get them in this lifetime. Forgiveness, by the way, is not the same as justice. Justice means everything is fair. Betrayal is not fair. But we can offer forgiveness even when things are unfair. But if you ask me why Cheryl, why should I? Why should we forgive? I would answer because God has forgiven us when we didn't do a thing to earn it. Because chances are, unless we're perfect, you and I, at some point, are going to need others to forgive us. And because the one you release will really be you. The one I release will really be me. There's a true story that went viral not long ago about a mom and her daughter. And it goes like this. My daughter and I had just had a knockout, drag-down bedtime hour. Finally, about 10 minutes ago, I put her to bed, and through clenched teeth, I said, "I love you, Holland, but not another word tonight. You are going to sleep now. I'm done fussing over stuffed animals." "Mommy?" I paused on my way out the door, literally biting my tongue. I was so frustrated. "What is it, Holland?" "I do have one more thing to say." Of course she did. She was standing on the bed with her hands on her hips, and her hair was wild, and she was using her arm to wipe her tears and the snot away from her face. "Mommy," my 3-year-old said, staring me down with venom in her tiny voice, "I forgive you." Then she laid down and cried, and honest to goodness, for a hot minute, I didn't know what to do. The way she said, "I forgive you," made it sound like cuss words. I walked over to the bedside and leaned over. I said, "Baby girl, do you know what forgiveness means?" "Yes," she muttered. I really had to hear this. "It means you were wrong, and I'm tired of being mad, so I forgive you. And now I'm going to sleep, and my heart won't have a tummy ache." So there you have it, folks. Tonight, I was taught a lesson in forgiveness by a 3-year-old. Forgiveness. You were wrong. I'm tired of being mad, so I forgive you. And now I'm going to sleep and my heart won't have a tummy ache. The cost of not forgiving is too high. Even a 3-year-old knew it. It wasn't worth it. It keeps us in our own prison of hate, of resentment, of bitterness. But the funny thing is, the prison door is not locked, but we just like to sit in there anyway. Betrayal is a terrible thing, but you are not alone in this. We all have wounds of betrayal. Some are deeper than others. Some will take longer to heal. Some require lots of extra help. But know there is a God who cares, who is near, who understands. When you go through deep waters, I will be with you. When you go through rivers of difficulty, you will not drown. When you walk through the fire of oppression, you will not be burned up. The flames will not consume you. For I am the Lord, your God. He was with Joseph in that pit all those years ago. He's with me. He is with you. He is willing. He is able. In any betrayal, he is still here.
Thanks so much again for joining us, guys. We hope you enjoyed the service. Just a couple things before you go. We want to remind you about the marriage course that's happening starting this Monday, January 20th. If you're somebody that's married and you want to revitalize your marriage strength, or you want to just start from the ground up, maybe you're newly married and you just want some good advice, this course is an awesome course. We would really encourage you to sign up for that. And the best thing is you can do it from the comfort of your own home. It can be maybe a date night. Grab your spouse, grab a couple drinks, come join our sessions. Nick and Kayla are going to lead. It's going to be a great time. So make sure you get signed up for that on the website, fccc.ca. As well, we are starting another round of Winter Alpha. This starts this Wednesday, January 22nd. It's going to be a great time again. If that's something you're interested in, maybe you've got questions about life and faith and meaning and what all this means, come and join Alpha. Come explore those questions. Come meet with people who are like-minded. It's a safe space to ask all the questions that you can. So sign up for that on the website as well. That's also going to be a great time, or at the QR code that's on the screen. So thank you so much. Enjoy your week. We'll see you next weekend.